Well, thank you for sending these pictures as well as videos. Please remember that you too can report news and events from any part of the world. Well, the Lagos State Election Petition Tribunal has held its inaugural sitting today. Though cameras were not allowed to film the proceedings, our judiciary correspondent, Shola Shoyele, reports that 2 panels of the tribunal sat. One of the panels heard a motion ex parte filed by the PDP's Jimi Agbaje, who is challenging the return of the governor-elect Akinwumi Ambode. After ruling on the ex parte application, the panel adjourned. It will convene for pre-hearing after all parties have exchanged and obtained documents needed for the hearing of the petition.
The recently commissioned Roslyn Omotosho building, located beside the Lagos High Court Ikeja, is the venue of the tribunal hearing petitions in the just concluded polls in the state. Our cameras were not allowed into the courtroom during the proceedings, but the chairman of the tribunal, Justice Silvanus Origi, in his inaugural remarks, warned the parties that the tribunal would not tolerate strategies aimed at delaying the expeditious hearing and determination of petitions before it. As specified by sections 285 subsection 6 of the Constitution, the tribunal has 180 days to hear and determine the petitions filed before it. 2 panels of the tribunal have commenced sitting. One of them heard a motion ex parte in the only governorship petition filed before the tribunal. In the petition, the PDP's Jimi Agbaje is challenging the return of the governor-elect, Mr. Akinwumi Ambode. The panel rejected the petitioner's application seeking to compel INEC to make available all materials used for the election. It, however, granted a request allowing the petitioner to inspect the materials used specifically for the governorship elections in Lagos.
We don't have access to all those materials. INEC is in possession of them. INEC is in custody of the voting materials, ballot papers, ballot boxes, and everything that was used for that election. We don't have access to them. But we need to rely on them in these tribunals to prove our case that we won the election and ought to have been returned as the winners of the election.
They brought an application for order to inspect materials. In some respect, they made mistakes. They included materials used for presidential election, and the court rightfully rejected the request. So that's a first step, and I state categorically now that we are yet to be served. But we got wind of the case coming up today, and we appear in court, at least to observe what is going on.
The second panel had the suit filed by the PDP's Muhyiddin Abdurrahim, who is challenging the results returned by INEC in the Ojo Constituency 2 area of the state. The Assistant Secretary of the Tribunal, Mr. Abubakar Sani, who declined to speak on camera, says between 30 to 40 petitions have so far been received by the Tribunal. Shola Shoyele, Channels Television News.
Now 10 people who allegedly conspired to torture 3 women for allegedly stealing pepper at Oba Morufu International Market in Ejigbo, Lagos State on February the 11th, 2013 have been remanded in prison custody. The presiding judge, Justice Oluwaton Ipaye of an Ikeja High Court, remanded the 9 men and a woman after the arraignment by the Lagos State Directorate of Public Prosecutions. They are to remain in custody pending the hearing and determination of their bail applications fixed for May the 21st. The defendants are facing 19 charges bordering on conspiracy, murder, sexual assault, maliciously administering poison, obtaining money by false pretenses, and deprivation of liberty. The Director of Public Prosecutions, Mrs. Ido Alakija, says that the women were beaten, stripped, and pepper was rubbed over their bodies by the suspects who are members of the Odua People's Congress. Well, the Federal High Court in Lagos has fixed May 21st, 2015 to rule on an application filed in objection to the suit seeking to restrain Multi-Choice Nigeria Limited from increasing subscription fees on the digital satellite television being operated by it. 2 Lagos-based legal practitioners, Osasuye Adebayo and Oluyinka Oyeniji, had filed a class action on behalf of themselves and all other DSTV subscribers across the country. The plaintiffs are seeking an order of the court restraining Multi-Choice from implementing the 20% increment on DSTV subscription rate which began on April the 1st. They also want the court to compel the National Broadcasting Commission to regulate their activities so as to prevent what they describe as arbitrary increment in subscription rates. However, MultiChoice, through its lawyer, Mr. Moyoshoye Onigbanjo, filed a preliminary objection, urging the court to decline jurisdiction and discountenance the reliefs being sought by the plaintiffs. Canvassing argument at today's proceeding, Mr. Onigbanjo maintained that the plaintiffs had no cause of action, adding that the court did not have the power to regulate the price of services that the business was offering to its customers.
Before you institute a suit, there are certain steps you have to comply with. Unfortunately for the plaintiffs, they have not done that in this situation. And when there are laws which have been laid down, it's not a matter of choice. You have to comply with it. If you do not comply with it, it affects the validity of your action. Once a court's jurisdiction has been challenged or put in issue, the issue of contempt cannot even arise at all, because it means that the court had no power to even make that order in the first place. We have done what we are supposed to do, and that is our own position. They have said that we ought to have endorsed the writ as being concurrent and being a writ to be served outside jurisdiction of the court, which will be in Abuja. And we are saying that the federal court does not have several jurisdictions. It only has one jurisdiction. So that position they are relying on has to do with cross borders jurisdiction between Lagos State, for instance, and Oyo State. That means it will be applicable to the state high courts. Federal court only has one jurisdiction. So we are talking about service outside jurisdiction. We are not talking about cross borders. We are talking about outside the country of Nigeria. And that is why we have said that position does not applicable to us. As far as federal court is concerned, it's one jurisdiction. Every other state is under one jurisdiction.
A 3-day warning strike, embarked upon by the employees of the Kaduna Electricity Distribution Company, has thrown most parts of the state into total darkness. The workers commenced the strike on Monday to protest against what they described as job slavery by the management of the company. Protesting under the umbrella of the National Union of Electricity Employees at the company's headquarters, the workers accused the management of clamping down union activities, deliberately refusing to provide them with the necessary tools to work with, stopping their medical entitlements, and also delaying their monthly salaries.
These people here are workers of the defunct Power Holding Company of Nigeria, PHCN, a company which has been inherited by new owners, Kaduna Electricity Distribution Company. As early as 7 a.m., they abandoned their offices and converged on the company's headquarters. Although armed policemen, soldiers and civil defense operatives were deployed to the headquarters to avert a possible disruption of activities by the angry workers, their presence here destabilized the day's activities. The workers are demanding to see the management, but none is on hand to attend to them.
You cannot be working with someone that you don't know. You don't even see them. They talk of target, you meet up with the target, no payment.
The angry workers insist that no amount of intimidation by the management will force them to reverse their decision. They want to stop to the casualization of staff and the reinstatement of their medical entitlements, which was stopped by the new management.
Since they came on board, they have never invited us for a meeting. Even when we push to have a meeting with them, they make it a shabby exercise. They will send in people who are not competent to represent the company to come and talk to us. Even the money that was left after the handing over with them to pay us, for almost 5 months, they refused to pay.
The workers wondered how the management could stop any form of medical entitlements for them, despite the hazards involved in their work. The union criticized the management for the rationing of electricity supply.
The consumers are being cheated, the power is not there. And yet, these crazy bills are being sent to them. And who bears the brunt? It is the workers. If the workers go out to work, they will say, oh, see this NEPA. You are giving us bill for which you have not supplied, give us supply.
The management of the Kaduna Electricity Company was not available to react when Channels Television visited. While we await an official response, The protesting workers say the new owners are not capable of handling the system, and government may well consider a reversal of the privatization process.
Well, from one protest in Kaduna to another in Delta State. This time, the chapter of Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria have protested what they termed poor treatment by the Assembly State Management. Now led by the factional chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress Delta State Chapter, Comrade David Ofoyeno, and the chairman of the State Chapter of the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria, Comrade Courtney Obutu. The protesters say that their demands include the immediate removal of the clerk of the assembly. Attempts by the State Commissioner of Police to broker peace between the two parties failed as the Speaker refused to yield to the terms of negotiations by the unionists.
This is a gathering of aggrieved workers of the Delta State House of Assembly in front of the legislative quarters at Opanam Road in Asaba, the Delta State capital. They are demanding to see the Speaker of the House, whom they say is behind their problems. The spokespersons for the protesters tried their best to itemize their issues with accusing fingers pointed at the Speaker.
Sometimes on the 19th of January, we signed a memorandum of understanding. This is a copy of the MOU, only signed by the Speaker of the House. The subject contained in not payment of staff claim for the past 10 years, not payment of deceased staff, entitlement, staff that have died, the entitlement that they need, a lack of training and retraining of staff, issue of outfit allowance. We want the outfit allowance to be paid into our salary. That's one of the proofs of this matter.
Inside the legislative quarters, some House members tried their best to remain calm under the circumstances. The Delta Police Commissioner, Alkali Usman, decides to bring the two parties together for negotiations in order to end the impasse, a move that nearly resulted in chaos as the entourage of the Speaker were visibly angered by the tone of the unionists.
We don't have a mic here.
No, we are not discussing here. We don't have back to job. We scheduled a meeting by 10 a.m. today at the office. We surprised with what is going on.
As we are talking now, I'm your visitor. So if you want us to go back to the office, you need to receive us in your house.
Please, let's meet at the office. Thank you very much.
Come, Mr. Speaker. Come back.
With both sides at daggers drawn, it is expected that the assembly workers will explore other means of dialogue in order to get their demands met.
Well, drama, but that's not what you get in our next report, as the Senate has mandated its Committee on Defense to meet the military high command to unravel the identities of the people behind the alleged killing of over 50 people in Wase local government area of Plateau State. The Senate also condemned the alleged invasion of the community that led to the displacement of several hundreds of people. The resolution of the Senate for its Defense Committee to meet the military high command was as a result of the point of order on matter of urgent importance raised by Senator Victor La, representing Plateau South constituency.
The immediate cause of the attack, Mr. President, is not known. We suspect that these are armed militias or Boko Haram or soldiers, but they are using Nigerian Army uniforms, and they were having equipment that are exclusively known and reserved for use by the Nigerian Army. Their operations tended to imply that they were not genuine Nigerian Army personnel, because they used matches to hack down people, they shot at and killed women and children, they killed men, uniformed policemen and civil defense personnel. They burned down every and any house within reach, and they used petrol to burn the bodies of the victims that they killed. Mr. President, these are war crimes against humanity. and they violate the provisions of the Geneva Convention.
When News at 10 returns, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) resumes search for oil in the Lake Chad Basin. There's some business news. Do join us again.